I found a woman running a six-figure design business out of a workspace that cost less than most people spend on a kitchen remodel. No power bill, no internet bill, no mortgage, just her, a laptop, and a tiny building she built almost entirely out of things other people threw away. And the craziest part, the one material that saved her more money than anything else in this build, most people drive past it every single day without knowing what it is worth. I'm going to show you exactly what she used, exactly what it cost, and exactly where she found it. But you have to stick around because the number at the end of this video is going to surprise you. Before we get into it, hit subscribe right now so you do not lose this channel. I upload real numbers, real builds, and real mistakes every single week. No sponsors, no fluff, just what actually works in 2026. Now, let us get into the build. Everybody is talking about tiny homes for living. Almost nobody is talking about tiny homes for working. And that is a mistake because a dedicated off-grid workspace might be the single smartest small structure you can build this year. Think about it. You do not need a bathroom size for a family. You do not need a full kitchen. You do not need a bedroom. You need power for your laptop, light to work by, heat or cooling to stay comfortable, and a door you can close so your workday actually starts and ends. Strip a tiny home down to just that, and the budget drops fast. Add recycled materials into the mix, and under $15,000 stops being a fantasy and starts being a spreadsheet. I spent weeks pulling 2026 pricing on every single piece of this build. Lumber, solar, insulation, windows, the works. I'm going to walk you through the entire structure from the ground up, and at the very end, I'm going to show you the full cost breakdown, dollar by dollar, so you can see exactly how this fits under $15,000. But the real unlock in this build is not the solar panels. It is not the windows. It is one sourcing strategy that most builders completely overlook, and I'm saving it for the middle of this video because once you understand it, it changes how you look at every recycled build after this one. Let us start at ground level. A workspace this size, somewhere in the 100 to 160 square foot range, does not need a poured foundation. Most builders in 2026 are using a simple pier and skid system, concrete deck blocks, or helical piers under a pressure-treated skid frame. This keeps the structure off the ground, keeps moisture away from your floor joists, and keeps the whole thing movable if you ever need to relocate it. Budget somewhere between $500 and $1,000 here, and this is one of the only sections of the build where I recommend buying new. Your foundation is not the place to gamble on reclaimed material. Framing is where the real savings start. Structural framing lumber, the actual studs and rafters holding your roof up, should be new. I know that goes against the recycled theme of this video, but there's a hard line here for a reason. Reclaimed dimensional lumber can be warped, split, or weakened by old fastener holes and hidden rot, and that is not a place to cut corners when it is holding your roof over your head. New framing lumber for a structure this size typically runs somewhere around $2,000 to $2,800 in 2026, depending on your region and current lumber pricing. Where reclaimed material earns its keep is everything wrapped around that frame. Exterior siding is a perfect example. Salvaged corrugated metal roofing, old barn tin, and reclaimed board and batten siding show up constantly on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and local demolition listings, often for free or close to it. Builders documenting their own recycled tiny structures have pulled aluminum siding, wood paneling, and even full window units directly out of old campers and demolition sites for next to nothing. If you are patient and you check listings daily, exterior siding and roofing can realistically cost you $200 to $600 instead of the $2,000 plus you would spend buying new metal roofing and siding at a hardware store. Windows and doors are another place recycled sourcing pays off. A reclaimed building supply yard or a Habitat for Humanity restore regularly stocks salvaged windows and exterior doors at 20 to 50% below retail. For a small workspace, you might only need 2 or 3 windows and a single exterior door, and sourcing those secondhand can realistically save you $300 to $800 compared to new. So just on the shell, structure, siding, roofing, windows, and door, you're looking at roughly $3,000 to $3,800 total, with the framing being new and almost everything wrapped around it being reclaimed. Here's something a lot of recycled builds get wrong. People get so focused on saving money on materials they can see, siding, flooring, trim, that they skip corners on the material they cannot see, insulation. Do not do this. In an off-grid workspace, insulation is not decoration. It is what determines whether your solar-powered heating and cooling system can actually keep up. Recycled denim insulation and reclaimed rigid foam board, which construction sites regularly discard as offcuts, are both viable options here, and rigid foam offcuts in particular are something you can often get for free directly from commercial construction sites if you ask the site manager. Budget $800 to $1,200 for a full insulation package for a structure this size, factoring in some new material to fill gaps that reclaimed offcuts cannot cover. This is not the section to go all in on salvage. A well-insulated shell is what makes your entire off-grid power system realistic on a small budget, which brings us to the part of this build everyone actually asks me about. This is where most people assume the budget explodes. It does not have to if you size correctly. A full off-grid home solar system in 2026 can run anywhere from $25,000 to $65,000. And if you took that number at face value, you would assume this entire video is impossible. But a workspace is not a home. You're not running a refrigerator, a washing machine, and central air. You're running a laptop, some LED lighting, a small space heater or fan, maybe a monitor and a printer. That is a dramatically smaller energy footprint, and it changes the entire equation. For a workspace like this, a DIY off-grid kit in the 1 to 3 kilowatt range, built around a 24 or 48 volt configuration with lithium iron phosphate batteries, is a sweet spot builders are using in 2026. Picture a 3.5 to 5 kilowatt hour battery bank, paired with a 2 to 3 kilowatt hybrid inverter and around 1,200 watts of panels. That core equipment currently prices out as a DIY kit around $2,500 to $4,500, and the remaining room in your power budget covers wiring, breakers, mounting hardware, and the labor you are saving yourself by installing it. Do that installation yourself instead of hiring a professional, and you skip the $3,000 to $8,000 in labor that professional installation typically adds. Solar panels themselves last 30 to 35 years, and lithium batteries in this class typically last 10 to 15 years, so this is not a system you're replacing anytime soon. Now, can you push this number even lower using recycled components? A little, and this is worth mentioning. Slightly blemished or open box solar panels, sold at a discount because of minor cosmetic damage that does not affect performance, are increasingly available through solar liquidation resellers and can shave a meaningful percentage off your panel cost. But battery and inverter components are not where I recommend hunting for used deals. Those are the parts of your system where safety and reliability actually matter. So buy those new, and save your recycle hunting for the parts of the build where a scratch or a dent does not put anything at risk. Budget line for power, keeping it lean and workspace appropriate, $5,000 to $6,500. Here is a decision point that changes your total significantly, and it depends entirely on how you plan to use this space. If this workspace sits on the same property as your main home, you likely do not need plumbing or a toilet at all. You just need power and a place to work. That keeps your total dramatically lower. But if this is a truly standalone off-grid workspace, out on a piece of land away from your house, you will probably want at least a basic composting toilet and a small water source. A self-contained composting toilet unit currently starts around $1,400 for the unit itself, and a simple rain barrel-style catchment system connected to your roof line runs somewhere between $150 and $600, depending on whether your area offers rebates. That is a combined range of roughly $1,500 to $2,000 if you choose to add this layer. For the purposes of the budget breakdown at the end of this video, I'm going to show you both numbers, with and without this layer, because I want this video to be useful whether you're building a backyard studio or a truly remote off-grid setup. Now for the part that actually makes this a workspace and not just a shed with a solar panel on it. Interior walls, flooring, a desk, shelving, lighting fixtures, and basic electrical wiring inside the unit. This is, without question, the single best category in this entire build for recycled sourcing, because almost none of it is structural. Reclaimed hardwood flooring pulled from demolition sites has more character than anything you can buy new, and builders sourcing flooring this way have found that a reclaimed building supply yard can save them significant money compared to retail flooring, sometimes at 20 to 50% below new pricing for salvage doors, windows, and finished materials. Interior wall paneling can come from pallet wood, which is often available completely free if you know a local business that goes through pallets regularly, a moving company, a landscaping supplier, a beverage distributor. One builder documented covering an entire ceiling in salvage pallet wood sourced for free from a friend's gutter business. Your desk and shelving do not need to come from a furniture store at all. Reclaimed lumber, salvage doors laid flat as a desktop, old scaffold boards. These are standard materials in the custom furniture world specifically because reclaimed wood is often denser and more durable than new growth lumber, since older trees grew slower and produced tighter grain. Budget for interior finish out, flooring, wall covering, desk, shelving, interior lighting fixtures, and wiring materials, somewhere around $1,000 to $1,600, with the majority of that being labor-equivalent materials like screws, wire, and finish hardware rather than the visible surfaces which you're sourcing recycled. Okay, I told you at the start of this video, there was one sourcing strategy that mattered more than any single material choice, and here it is. It is not a specific material. It is a network. The single biggest lever for keeping a build like this under $15,000 is building a relationship with your local demolition and deconstruction companies before you ever start swinging a hammer. Here's why this matters so much. Most people treat recycled material sourcing as a scavenger hunt, checking marketplace listings, driving past dumpsters, hoping to get lucky. That works, but it is slow and inconsistent. Deconstruction companies and demolition contractors exist specifically to take buildings apart, and disposal fees at the landfill cost them real money for every load they haul away. When you call ahead and tell a demolition company you're looking for framing offcuts, siding, doors, windows, or flooring, and you're willing to pick it up yourself, you are not asking for a favor. You are solving a problem for them. Many will let qualifying material go for free or near free, specifically to avoid landfill fees, and deconstruction nonprofits in cities across the country exist for exactly this purpose, stockpiling salvage material at a fraction of retail cost. Builders who get the best pricing on a recycled build are not the ones who get lucky on the marketplace. They're the ones who called 5 demolition companies in their area, introduced themselves, and asked to be added to the list for material pickups. That is the entire secret. It costs you nothing but a few phone calls, and it can be the difference between spending 6 months hunting for materials piecemeal and having a truck full of usable siding, doors, and flooring sitting in your driveway within a few weeks. Let's put the whole thing together. Foundation, 3/4 of the way affordable if you are careful, sitting at $750. Framing lumber, new for safety, $2,400. Reclaimed siding, roofing, windows, and door, $400 if you're patient with sourcing. Insulation and weatherproofing, $1,000. Off-grid solar power system, sized for a workspace, $5,700. Interior build-out, flooring, walls, desk, shelving, lighting, wiring, $1,300. That total comes to $11,550 for a fully functional off-grid workspace with power, insulation, and a finished interior, no plumbing. If you are building this as a truly standalone unit and want the composting toilet and rainwater catchment layer added in, tack on $1,500 to $2,000, and you land between $13,050 and $13,550. Either way, you are comfortably under the $15,000 mark, with room left over for permit fees, which brings me to something I have to be straight with you about before you start building anything. Even a small standalone structure like this is not automatically exempt from your local building department. Rules vary significantly by state and county, and this is the single most common mistake I see builders make. They assume that because a structure is small, or off-grid, or on wheels, it does not need a permit. Sometimes that is true, often it is not. Structures used purely as a home office or workspace, without plumbing, are treated differently in most jurisdictions than a full dwelling unit. and many areas allow small accessory structures under a certain square footage without a building permit at all. But that threshold is different everywhere. And if you add a composting toilet or any plumbing, you have likely crossed into territory that requires a permit no matter how small the building is. Before you buy a single piece of lumber, call your local building department and ask 2 questions. First, what is the square footage threshold for an accessory structure that does not require a permit in your jurisdiction? Second, does adding a composting toilet or any water catchment change that requirement? Get the answer in writing if you can. This is the least exciting part of any build video, but it is the part that keeps you from tearing something down after you have already spent the money. So there it is, an off-grid workspace, insulated, powered, finished, and fully functional for somewhere between $11,550 and $13,550 in 2026 pricing, built largely from materials other people were ready to throw away. The framing stays new because your safety is not the place to save money. Everything else, the siding, the windows, the flooring, the desk you're sitting at while you work, that is where recycled sourcing does the heavy lifting. And now you know the one move that makes it actually work: calling your local demolition companies before you start instead of hoping you get lucky on Marketplace. If this video gave you a real number to work with, do me a favor and hit subscribe, because I break down builds exactly like this one every single week. No sponsors, no affiliate links, just honest numbers so you can plan a build that actually works for your budget. Drop a comment and let me know if you would want a full step-by-step build video for this exact workspace next. Wiring diagrams, material list, the whole thing. I read every single comment, and the next video on this channel might be exactly what you asked for. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.